It's Friday night. Feels like it, right? That said, may I suggest that you go to bed kind of early, hydrate, eat your Wheaties in the morning, maybe put off the Friday night cocktail to make it a Saturday night cocktail this week, if at all. I'm only saying that because tomorrow is going to be very busy. Saturday is going to be very busy. I said at the top of the show, there are more than 1,200 protests planned for tomorrow in all 50 states. I stand corrected. It is more than 1,300 protests planned in more than in all 50 states. It's expected to be the largest single day of protest since Donald Trump took office. Joining us now is Ezra Levin. He's co-founder of Indivisible, which is one of the groups that is promoting these events tomorrow. Ezra, thanks very much for joining us tonight. You were here just a couple of 3 weeks ago talking about the earliest idea for April 5th being sort of a hub for events all over the country and in Washington. How has the organizing gone? What has the response been?
What if I told you that tomorrow could mark the largest protest day in America since Trump took office, and almost no one's talking about it? Over 1,300 demonstrations are erupting across every single state, not just in big cities or blue states, but in rural towns, conservative strongholds, and places you'd least expect. Why now? Why April 5th? And what is pushing everyday Americans, teachers, veterans, students, retirees, to suddenly rise up and say, enough? This isn't just politics. This is a breaking point. So, what exactly is everyone protesting? And why should you care? Let's break it down. You might want to call it an early night tonight. Seriously, get some rest, drink a bit more water than usual, maybe swap out that Friday cocktail for a Saturday one this time. Because tomorrow, it's going to be intense. Across the country, Americans are preparing for what could be the largest single day of protest since Donald Trump first took office. Over 1,300 separate protest events are set to take place in every single state. Red states, blue states, cities, suburbs, rural communities, you name it. The message is clear, it's urgent, and it's coming from the ground up. So what exactly is happening? And what's behind this wave of mobilization? Just a few weeks ago, April 5th was a date that barely made a blip on the national radar. Organizers had only started floating the idea of a day of action. There wasn't much certainty around whether it would resonate, but what's unfolded since then has exceeded even the most hopeful expectations. At the center of this momentum is a group called Indivisible, a grassroots organization that began forming in the aftermath of Trump's election. It's built on the belief that democracy only works when people are engaged, especially at the local level. Ezra Levin, the co-founder of Indivisible, recently reflected on how far things have come in just a few weeks. When the idea was first floated, the hope was to spark interest and maybe inspire a few coordinated rallies. But now, it's snowballed into something far bigger, a truly nationwide movement. One of the sparks that helped fuel this surge came out of Wisconsin. Voters there turned out in large numbers and delivered a critical win in a high-stakes state supreme court race. That win wasn't just a data point. It was proof that public mobilization could actually shape the direction of the country. That electoral victory lit a fire.
Just a couple of 3 weeks ago, talking about the earliest idea for April 5th being sort of a hub for events all over the country and in Washington. How has the organizing gone? What has the response been compared to what you expected?
Gosh, Rachel, it's been incredible. Can I just say it has been incredible. We knew when we announced 3 weeks ago on the show that this was going to be the week where we saw an election in Wisconsin. We were cautiously optimistic about that election in Wisconsin for the Supreme Court. We didn't know we were going to kick Elon Musk's butt all across the state, but we were cautiously optimistic. We also didn't know that Cory Booker was going to give this incredible speech, inspiring all of us and telling us that he was taking a stand in response to pushes from his own constituents. We also didn't know that Donald Trump was going to launch a global attack on the economies of not our economy, but the global economy. This confluence of events, this sense that they are overreaching so much, and they're...
Then came Senator Cory Booker's now viral speech, an emotional, powerful response to growing unrest from his own constituents. His words weren't just inspiring, they showed that pressure from the public was starting to influence lawmakers, and layered on top of all that was Donald Trump himself, whose latest rhetoric and policy threats once again triggered alarm bells. not just at home, but globally. His recent threats to global markets and domestic programs weren't just provocative, they seemed designed to provoke chaos. For many, it was the last straw. There's a growing sense among Americans that institutions, whether universities, law firms, or corporations, have failed to stand up for core democratic values. And in that vacuum, regular citizens are stepping in. The result? A day of action that's turning into a national moment. What's even more striking is the geographical spread. You might expect dozens of events in places like California, New York, and Washington State. And yes, those states have large turnouts planned. But this isn't just about traditional liberal strongholds. 17 events are planned in Montana, 14 in Alaska, dozens across places that aren't known.
Trump slashes tariffs, except on China, where they soar. In a surprising policy shift, President Donald Trump announced a sweeping rollback of country-specific tariffs, opting instead for a flat 10% rate on imports from all U.S. trade partners, with one major exception, China. The White House confirmed to CNBC that tariffs on Chinese goods will skyrocket to 145%. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett said the U.S. has received trade deal proposals from 15 countries, signaling potential momentum in negotiations. During a cabinet meeting, Trump did not rule out extending the current 90-day pause on the tariffs. He also claimed he hadn't seen Tuesday's market sell-off. According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump was aware that his tariff strategy might risk triggering a recession, but said he feared a full-scale depression even more, prompting the temporary pause. Markets, which had seen a major rally Wednesday, gave up gains the following day. Trump's top trade advisor, Peter Navarro, dismissed concerns that the president's on-again, off-again tariff policy had caused lasting damage to global markets. In a CNN interview after the closing bell, Navarro joked, "I think CNBC's going to sue CNN for intruding on their financial analysis." He added, "That to me is pure spin. You had the highest rise in stock market history yesterday. Of course, there's going to be a little pullback. The question is, what spin are you going to put on it?" Navarro called the dip just normal retracement after a big day. It's no big deal. Kevin Breuninger, Congress members caught in airport mishap, raise FAA concerns. At least 6 members of Congress were aboard a stationary plane at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport when another aircraft struck its wing. Just now, while stationary on the runway at DCA, another plane just bumped into our wing, wrote Representative Nick LaLota, RNY, on X. Heading back to the gate, but thankfully everyone is okay. Representative Richie Torres, DNY, echoed the sentiment. "I was just on a grounded plane that was struck by another aircraft. Thankfully, no one was injured, just the inconvenience of a delayed departure." 4 House Democrats from New York on the affected flight are now using the incident to highlight what they call dangerous staffing cuts to the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, under the Trump administration. Aviation mishaps are at an all-time high, and the Trump administration's reckless decision to fire FAA control staff has put us all in danger, said Representative Adriano Espaillat, DNY. "We are thankful that no one was injured and that a catastrophe was avoided." Representative Gregory Meeks, DNY, added, "Cuts and firing FAA employees are not the answer." 7 members of Congress were on board, along with dozens of other concerned passengers. Kevin Breuninger, Trump leaves door. Open to reinstating higher tariffs. Trump reiterated that if favorable trade deals aren't reached within the 90-day tariff pause, the U.S. would resume higher tariff rates. "That's what would happen," he said at the cabinet meeting. "It's just got to be good for both parties." Pressed on whether that means he's ruling out an extension, Trump replied, "We'll have to see what happens."